Welcome to the Broncos podcast with Troy Rank. I'm your host, Troy Rank from the Denver Post. It is a victory Monday for your for Broncos country. Embrace it. Hug it. Bring it into your bosom. Treat it like a long lost relative you're giving a big, big, big hug to because you've earned this Broncos country. The kingdom collapsed on Sunday at Empower Field. The Broncos are now fully in control and in position to win the AFC West for the first time since 2015. And that coincidentally, what you watched on Sunday was the biggest win the Broncos have had in a decade. Don't worry about style points. Don't worry about it, what it looked like. When you beat the Chiefs, who've won the division 9 straight years, it doesn't matter how it looked. It matters with a final result. And the Broncos walk away with a walk-off, 22-19. It is crazy, folks. The Broncos are 9-2. The Chiefs are 5-5. You have a 3.5 game lead over the Chiefs, 2 games over the Chargers. The Broncos could be undefeated. Their 2 losses are walk-offs. They should have beaten the Colts. They deserve to lose to the Chargers. But then you could say they should have lost to the Eagles. They should have lost to the Giants. But they're 9-2. And those of you, and I think every one of you listen to my pod, had a feeling this was coming. Sean Payton is at his best in games like this, finding a way to push the right buttons when everyone says they have no chance. You touch their nose, it's cold because they're mutts. They're dogs. They were underdogs. That was Payton's 60th win as an underdog in the NFL. How did they do it? What were some of the keys? I'm going to get to all of that after the break. Have you been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work? What are you waiting for? Really? Give my friends at Hoggatt Injury Law a call. Their motto, with us, it's personal. That's because it is. I've known Darby Hoggatt forever. We became friends talking Broncos over watching our kids play baseball across the country. Many of Darby's clients become his good friend. You don't even have to pay Darby up front. If your case goes as planned, Darby will be the one writing the check to you. So again, listen, if you've been hurt, you've been injured at work, give Darby's team a call. They're good people. They can get right back to you, solve your issues. Let them know. This number, this is where you're reaching. 1-833-464-4288. That number again is 1-833-HOGGATT. That's 1-833-HOGGAT. Or visit the website at hoggattlaw.com. Welcome back to the Broncos Pod. I'm your host, Troy Rank, columnist for the Denver Post. I hope you're reading all of our stuff in the Post from Parker Gabriel, Luca Evans, Sean Keeler. I had a column on Sunday, and very, very rarely does this happen, but I predicted that the Broncos are going to win in our preview, and I predicted and explained why in my Sunday column. And it's because Sean Payton, talking to people that know him best over the last few years, he has a knack for when his team is told they can't do something. His team is a heavy underdog. His team has no chance. Injuries. Lose great players. Quarterback struggling. Facing a great team. No chance, right? Well, you look at through his history. Sean Payton through the years has had huge wins. You can go back to when Teddy Bridgewater beat Seattle. Filling in for Drew Brees. He hadn't won and played significant time in the NFL in 4 years. He pulls off the victory. You look at some of their big wins with New Orleans, with guys hurt, and even in Denver. Every year, Payton has a game or two like this. A couple years ago, the first year it was with Russell Wilson in Buffalo. Then it was last year, it was at Tampa Bay where the season's on the brink at 0-2. They beat Baker Mayfield in a really good Tampa defense. And then this past season, on Sunday, for all the issues of this team, you don't think they were pissed off that they're only the 6th team in history to have a winning streak at home of at least 10 games and be an underdog? First team since the 07 Colts against the Patriots? That pisses you off. You've won, 7 games in a row, and you're told, at that point, like 6 games in a row, you're told you're not good enough at home, or you've won 10 straight games. They take that stuff personally. And I know it feels like kind of sophomoric and a little high schoolish, but sometimes you got to find ways to motivate. You got to find ways to push the right buttons. The Broncos knew they had a chance in this game because there was a blueprint. Every time Patrick Mahomes loses in a big game, it's very similar. He gets pressured like hell. They become one-dimensional and don't run the ball. And the other team kind of plays keep away with the clock and with the time of possession. So the Broncos, they were built to do the first two. The last one was the hard one, is can their offense stay on the field? I mean, again, for people to say, oh, how dare you criticize Bo Nix and the offense and the disconnect with Sean Payton? Listen, it's clear it's happening when Bo's looking over the sideline, even in this game, and saying, come on, speed it up, speed it up. I need the play. At one point, Tracy Wolfson, the CBS sideline reporter, said Bo came off the field begging Payton to get the play in sooner. And the O-line was like, we got to do tempo. And that's part of it. I mean, it's one thing to struggle against great defenses. Remember, the Broncos went 25 minutes without a first down against the Raiders. So for those of you who are like, oh, you're too critical, you're making – no, nobody's fabricating anything. They were really struggling. But that's okay because they're struggling in wins because they're in the game with a great defense. You only need to make a few plays. Very similar to baseball where a pitcher keeps the score. It's 1-1, 1-0. All you need is a couple guys on, a bloop and a blast, and you win the game. And that's kind of how they were doing it outside of the Cowboys game for 6 weeks, where Bo was the worst quarterback in the league for 3 quarters and then the best in the 4th. Well, why are you in position to do that? You got to believe. You got to believe. And the Broncos have not had a coach like this since Mike Shanahan, where you instill this confidence, not only in the 22 starters, but the roster. You find ways to motivate them, whether it was when they go to London. Nobody wins as a road team in the previous game going to London. You come back to London. Nobody wins after a bye west of the Mississippi. We didn't get a bye. Nobody wins in these spots. And nobody beats Andy Reid after a bye. That was one of the things they mentioned this week. Andy Reid, 22-4 after a bye, 6-1 with Mahomes. So clearly, Broncos, no chance. Payton plays that stuff up, needling guys a little bit. You know you have no chance this week, right? Everyone's written you off. And we haven't lost at home, and they're writing you off. So again, with a good team, it plays into it. So I asked Sean Payton afterward, again, 22-19, Broncos hung in there. When they had to have a drive, they delivered. And when the Chiefs didn't, and we're going to get this to the end of this in depth more with BJ's insane defense headline there. Broncos force a 3-and-out. They get the ball back with 4 minutes left. This is usually the opposite of how they lose. But it was very similar. If you guys, I know you know Broncos country, it was deja vu, or you want Vujade, pretend like it never happened. But deja vu, you last drive against the Chiefs to set up a field goal to win it. Where have we seen this before? Oh, yeah. Last year at Kansas City. That was a 34-yarder. This was a 35-yarder. And it's the symmetry of how much this team has grown since that game was on full display. Last year, you can't finish. You missed the kick, and you outplayed them there. This year, you had the advantage of it being tied and you weren't trailing. Same kind of spot, same kind of kick, same kicker. Boom, through the uprights. Good. Broncos win. I asked Payton after the game about this, Payton and Adam Trautman, about how are you able to get your team to play well in these spots when you're a clear underdog, 4.5-point dog? Chiefs clearly desperate, had everything to play for because now there's really no path for them to win the division, either passing the Broncos or Chargers, frankly. How did he push the right buttons? What was the key? Here's what Coach Payton said. Here's what Adam Trautman said about this team and why it worked at this time in the biggest win since Payton's been here as the Broncos coach.
Coach, what is it about these spots? You got no Surtain, no Singleton, no Dobbins. Through your career, you've had an ability and knack to get teams to play their best when people don't think they don't have much of a chance.
I think, look, it's not me. It's training your culture. You know, this Nick Saban quote about toughness, really not necessarily physical, but you know, the mental and how much you can take. And he likened it to hurricane windows. You can get the 139s, the 150s, or the 189s. And obviously, if you go up, they cost more. So I went through that same thing with the beach house. And it's finding the 189s. And sometimes you got to pass on something that might look attractive, but it's finding those guys that can tune out the noise, and there's been a lot of noise, like a lot of just, I won't comment on it, but anyway. And I hear some of the narratives and I just want to like cry. But anyway, it is what it is. That's your jobs. But our jobs are to focus on the wins and to focus on, there's one way to win each game, and the players deserve a chance to have that. And so sometimes that can vary, but in a game where, a lot of guys were banged up and they were fully healthy, it's a big win.
It's not scheme. It's not, oh, we have better scheme than them. They have better scheme. Like, it's not related to that. It's all belief-based, which is culture.
Yep.
And we don't care. Like, people believe in the next man up, right? And that's what we do.
A lot of people roll their eyes at that, but you feel it in here?
Yeah. I mean, specifically defensively. Right, Pat's out, Alex is out, but
Right.
The system is, like, we have the best defense in the league, right?
Right.
And, like, those players make a huge difference, but we also have, I mean, Vance is insane. Like, his defense is unbelievable. So you never will truly ever feel you're out of a game with them.
But you lose Dobbins, who's been so big for you in wins, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
But it feels like there's just a no excuses mentality.
Yeah, there is, because that's what's expected of us. There's not ever going to be a post-game, we just didn't have, JK. And JK's been a top 5 back all year, right? He's been unbelievable. So, yeah, that's truly what we live by, and that's what we did today.
Last thing, was there anything Sean said during the week? Because I know he finds ways to motivate you guys, whether like Philly, when you go to London, road teams before London are terrible, and the Giants teams that don't have a bye. Was there any message he gave you guys this week that
For
resonated?
this week?
Yeah, that resonated?
Oh, I'm trying to think of a specific record thing. Hopefully I didn't miss that, but no, not really. Obviously you're going into a bye week, and I think I saw something about them being great off a bye week.
Oh, they're really good. Yeah.
So that's something, and they're just well coached. They have one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, and then obviously one of the best head coaches. So, and he calls the offense. So, yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
Welcome back to the pod. Troy Rink here from the Denver Post. Hope that gives you a feeling of it. This stuff matters to Payton. Again, I know it feels a little collegiate, and he even cited Nick Saban in the answer. But if you have the right type of guys, they hear the message. If you get unselfish guys who are tough and competitive, care for each other, and it's not that easy. It really isn't, because guys are trying to get their own, get theirs, get their money. It's harder than you think in a locker room of type A personalities to get buy-in. And you're not going to have it from everyone. But if you have it from the right guys, they pull in the stragglers. Next thing you know, you look up and everyone cares about one another. They take ownership, but they only take ownership if they believe that the coach is putting them in a position to succeed. Whether that's Mike Shanahan, any great coach, Gary Kubiak here most recently. That's when it works. You can tell guys to buy in, but if you get in front of the team and say, we're going to do this, this, and this, and none of it happens, and you look ill-prepared and you look surprised by stuff that the other team does, players lose confidence. When I talk to players, they say the thing that creates the buy-in is Payton brings stuff up, says this, this, and this is going to happen, and if we do this and this, we're going to win. And then they go out and see it happen. That creates belief. Like, hey, this guy's not easy to play for. He can be a pain in the ass. He rides our ass over stuff, but he still lets them have their personality. That's one clear distinction. He lets guys be guys. And secondly, the stuff he says, they see coming true. Now, they are far away from being a perfect product. The penalties have got to come down. Riley Moss looking at you, and he knows it. One call was absolute bullshit, the setup points. But the second one that nearly cost him the game, he turned his head late, and he grabbed. And Riley said afterward, he's going to be practicing with boxing gloves. So he stops grabbing. He's got to be better positioned on those throwback balls. He just has to. He has to. But my point is, Payton says it, and they see it happen. They believe it. That's culture. That's chemistry. That's culture. That's having the right guys. Nick Bonito told me recently, it's like we all get told every day we're in this locker room for a reason. We were handpicked to be here. Pieces of a puzzle. Not mercenaries trying to survive to get theirs, to get the next contract. That's why they had to move on from guys like Randy Gregory and Frank Clark. Clark was good dudes. I like to interview them both. They were kind of done. They didn't fit the culture. Russell Wilson didn't fit with Sean. I mean, Brandon McManus did not fit with Sean Payton. Like every guy he moved out was with purpose and brought in someone he believes is his guy. Does it always work? It does not. Because sometimes he values the fit more than the talent, and you have a lack of talent. But you can see with enough of his guys what it looks like. And it looks really good at 9-2. Broncos lead the AFC West for the first time this late. I think it might be since 16, but it's first time in control like this since 2015 with Peyton Manning. They beat Mahomes. And remember this, Broncos are now 3-2 against the Chiefs under Peyton. You could say they beat the JV last year in the last game of the season. Take that out, they're 2-2. They had lost 16 straight. And everyone said that was a huge win when they ended that streak with Russell Wilson. The irony of that game is Peyton was so pissed off at how Wilson played. That's the game that convinced him he was never going to move forward with Wilson as quarterback after the season. Like he was done. Done. That's when he was going to bench him, the whole NFLPA thing involved. And he ended up starting and winning with Buffalo, but that's when he was done with Wilson. This is his biggest win because what it means in the West. Sunday will be looked back on as the day the West was won. And how did it happen? Bo Nix, the embattled Bo Nix, found a way. He was tired of hearing everyone say he sucked. And he came back. He came back with one of his best performances of his young career. We're going to get to that after another quick break. Listen, when you face curveballs from family challenges, you need a lawyer who understands human dynamics, the courtroom, and is willing to fight for your rights. You need Ted Shih. He's a graduate of Cal Berkeley Law. Ted brings 40 years of courtroom and 20 years of family law experience to your corner. Ted's been a social worker, a police detective, but first and foremost, he's a trial lawyer. He's tried cases across the Colorado and the country. Martindale-Hubbell ranks Ted among the top lawyers in the U.S. You want an expert to navigate your family challenge? Call Ted. His passion is putting you first. Ted will work to settle your case. Not afraid to go toe-to-toe in a trial, though. Ted can be reached at theoshih@aol.com. That's TheoShih@AOL.com. Or call this number. Write it down. 303-475-2981. That number again, 303-475-2981. Ted promises to respond to your concerns within 24 hours, 365 days a year. And Ted follows the Broncos, folks. He texted me, emailed me this morning about the game. He watches it closely. And obviously, Broncos country, he's there with you. And he's excited. You guys should be excited. Like this team, again, for all of the angst over that last 6 weeks. And it was deserved. So let's not pretend there weren't issues. And there still are some. But when you do it against the Chiefs, that's a statement game. When you do it against the team that had everything to play for at 5-4, knowing full well their 9-year reign and stranglehold on the division was going to come to an end with the loss because it's too hard. And now they play the Colts. The Broncos actually need help. Can you imagine on your bye week, Broncos country, rooting for the Chiefs to beat the Colts? That's a chance for the number 1 seed. Patriots have the easiest path, but I wrote in my column today, who's going to beat the Broncos? They have a chance. Now, it's going to be difficult because they still play the Chiefs, and the Chiefs might need that Christmas Day game, likely will, to get into the playoffs as a wild card. They play the Chiefs, they have the Packers, they have the Jaguars, and they have the Chargers. Those are all 4 playoff-type teams. Then they have the Raiders in there mixed in, and Washington. So those 2 layups you got to take. That gets you to 11. But then of those other 4, you're talking about you need 2 of the 4, preferably one of them against the Chargers because you already lost to the Chargers. And then you beat Green Bay, you beat Jacksonville. So you could lose to, let's say, Green Bay and Kansas City and win 4 of the next 6 and be in great spot, I think. But I mean, again, tiebreakers come in, schedule, all that. But the reason they have a chance is because Bo Nix looked like Bo from last year. We wrote about this on Wednesday last week. You can find my column on this where it was like Bo Nix has done everything off the field. It's time for Sean Payton to help him on the field. And we saw more of that. Bo was less paralyzed by thinking. He's given him too much on his plate mentally. It slowed him down physically. But we saw him more athletic. We saw him more confident. Looked like some of the joy had returned. Now, again, was he pissed and upset at some of the late play calls coming in? He was. But he was more demonstrative about it, which I like. I mean, at this point now, Bo, he's earned the right to go to his coach to get these plays in. Like, get me to the line of scrimmage with 14 seconds, not 4, not 5. Because you get up to the line of scrimmage with that little time, you can't audible. you're stuck because usually you have a couple plays, the one you're running in a backup play to get out. Well, it's hard to get out of that if you're getting up and you're screaming at guys to get in alignment because the hockey line changes come in. Guys don't know where they are. It was better on Sunday. It's not completely cleaned up, but it was better. You know, little Jordan Humphrey, that's one advantage of bringing in a guy who's played the system. You know, he's not a guy that gets penalized. Maybe he's going to be a better blocker for him. Sherfield it wasn't working. Sherfield just didn't block well, frankly. He's a good dude, but the wide receiver screens were just not executed well. And in some cases, he just wasn't blocking well. Maybe his scheme, whatever. But you got to clean it up more. But you saw with tempo. And Payton, he got huffy about, oh, here comes the tempo questions. This is Sean, though. We get it. But he acknowledged they went tempo at times. Sometimes you go tempo right when you get the ball. Sometimes it's just within the middle of the drive to prevent them from making a substitution. That's what we've all been trying to say is nobody believes you're going to run Chip Kelly's Oregon offense that he ran in Philadelphia, a decade ago. No huddle the whole time. You can't in the NFL. Your defense will be exhausted by week 4 from the time of possession. So you've got to understand that you can't do that. That's a college scheme. That's against bad college defenses because you can score 50 points. You're not going to do that in the NFL. But you can sprinkle it in. We've been saying this. You can use Bo Nix in the run game, and they called more power runs for him. His numbers weren't great, but it kept him honest because Denver didn't run the ball particularly well. Nix ended up with 3 for 8, but he had a couple powers on there. Harvey, 11 for 30. Jaleel, 6 for 19. I mean, they missed Dobbins. They missed him in the second half when he usually takes over games and wins possessions. The key to the game, though, folks, was in the second half. Bo Nix, because at halftime it's tied 6-6. Broncos left points on the board. Payton can't help himself. They have this great opening drive, and he has R.J. Harvey, a former high school quarterback, try to do this throwback play to Bo Nix. And here's the thing about trick plays. When you ask guys to throw the ball who never throw the ball, they can't help themselves. And R.J. Harvey was a high school quarterback. Again, that's probably 6 years ago since he was legitimately throwing a ball with accuracy. And even Jim Nance said afterward, well, now we see why he moved to running back. I have no doubt Harvey can throw a pass, just like Cortland Sutton can throw a nice ball, no doubt. But the key on those plays is the guy has to be wide open. And Nix admitted this. When we practiced it, that was really wide open. Harvey gets too far right. Now he's throwing back across his body, across the field. I mean, just begging to be picked. And here's the thing about those plays. This is a tangent here, obviously. The guy's got to know you only throw it if he's wide open. If not, pump fake, tuck it under, take the 1 yard gain, 3 yard loss. Anything's better than a turnover. It's only Bo Nix doing the best work at a defensive back in the game, looking like Pat Surtain, breaking up the pass. That's the only reason that wasn't a pick. I mean, that could have been a pick 6. Guys that are told on those plays, only throw it if he's wide open. And here's Harvey. Woo, woo, woo. Rainbow is guys are just slobbering trying to catch the ball. Great ball pass by Nix. That play was indefensible given the way they were running the football and chugging on that drive. The only way you could defend it was the way Nix did, by breaking it up. It took their momentum away. They end up with a field goal, and that nearly cost them the game in that kind of game. That's a difference of 4 points. Payton talks about that kind of stuff all the time. They got lucky. They got lucky there, and Bo bailed him out. But the key to the game was Bo at halftime had 80 yards passing. He looked frustrated. They weren't in rhythm. They had 5 first downs, folks, in the first half. And you wonder, Troy, why's that number significant? I'll tell you why. Because they were on pace for 10. That's how many they had against the Raiders. They were right back in that same slog fest they were against the Raiders. And that's how they lost against the Chargers. They had 9 first downs against the Chargers in that earlier season loss. And finally, they got into some tempo. They got into some tempo with Bo. In the third quarter alone, Bo went 7 for 8 for 131. He got Pat Bryant involved. He got Troy Franklin involved. He got the offense going. It wasn't perfect, but Bo started to look the part. He finishes 24 for 37, 295, zero touchdowns, but no picks. He got sacked, I think, 3 times, 2 in one drive, which never happens. And that's usually why Bo, when you're asking how can he play so poorly and the Broncos don't lose, because he doesn't take sacks and he doesn't really turn the ball over. But what you saw yesterday was a guy who got into rhythm. Because there's no debating that there's been a bit of a disconnect between he and Payton, with Bo wanting a little more up tempo and wanting to run stuff a certain way, and Payton not wanting to run it that way. And it looked like yesterday they found a little bit of a bridge. You got to sprinkle in the up tempo. You got, because especially now with Dobbins out, they're gonna miss Dobbins as the weather gets colder. And yesterday it was an absolute postcard perfect day. 72 degrees in November. Are you kidding? It was like 20 degrees higher than a normal mid-November day. You're going to play games where it's cold, it snows, bad weather. You're going to have to run the ball. And maybe the wide receiver screens take that part of it. But Bo's going to have to be part of that run game without Dobbins. But you win. And you won because Bo, when you had to have it, worked magic. And let's go to that last play, last drive. Broncos hold the Chiefs. And we're going to get into Vance Joseph. Just 3 and out, get the ball back. Broncos have a chance to put this game away and win it. It's tie game, 19-9. That last drive, the Broncos. So I want to have it perfect for you guys. When you're at the water cooler, I don't even think that's a thing anymore. Broncos get the ball back with 2:59 left at their own 26-yard line. So at that point, you need 24 to the 50 and another probably 15. You're thinking you need right around 40 yards to get into legit field goal range. You're talking at that point, you're talking about a 56, 57 yarder. Anything that starts with the number 6, not really realistic to win a game. It can happen. A lot of times it comes out low, gets blocked, gets shanked, whatever. They get the ball back, and Bo goes to work where he gets Bryant going. They have a penalty, but then here's the key right here. There's a couple of huge throws in here that you can't dismiss when you look at the growth of Bo Nix from week to week. And what the thing I like is he's heard the noise. I know he's deleted his social media. I was the one that asked him about it. He puts criticism in perspective after, what he went through at Auburn, the toxic nature of social media. I get it. But it would be naive to think he hasn't heard the noise, especially when it's by your own fans booing you. He's heard it. So they need a play from him, right? 3rd and 15 from their own 21, nails Courtland Sutton for 20 yards. One of the biggest passes of his career. Courtland Sutton is now ranked right near the top in third down conversions. He's got in 19 third down targets, he's got 16 first downs. It's unbelievable. His numbers aren't as big this year, partly because teams are tilting coverage to him, but a huge catch. So now we're at the 2-minute warning. Broncos are at the 41-yard line. Still need to get some, obviously some yards here. And again, they get to a 3rd and 5 with the 46-yard line. And again, who's he go to? Short to the right to Sutton. Back-to-back third down conversions to Sutton. And if they're not in field goal range, even then. So understand, you had to stay on the field because you don't want to give the ball back to Mahomes and have him walk you off. And then the biggest pass of the game. Because he had a dime to Troy Franklin. It was one of the best passes he's made all year down the left sideline. Just an absolute dime in stride. And it's a big deal because he and Franklin, for whatever reason, just really struggle on deep passes together. That wasn't the case for Nick yesterday. He was throwing dimes on passes over 10 yards, and that's been a problem all year. Zone coverage has been an issue. His passes over 10 yards, he's been one of the worst starters in the league. Yesterday, he was on point. His shoulder was staying squared. He was driving the ball. He's hitting that back foot, letting it go. It's about on time, on target. He's still happy feet at times, but we saw in the past where there's it's a clean pocket and he's happy feet. That's telling your mind is not in sync with your body. And when your feet are not right, your mind's frenetic, you're not accurate. We saw some of that on Sunday. Let's be fair. But we saw a quarterback that was more confident, stepping up in the pocket, letting it rip. And those were the throws you're like, okay, that's what we saw last year when he got really hot over those last 12 games. But still, folks, they're right at the number of field goal range. I mean, are you going to try a 64-yarder to win it? So here they are with 54 seconds left, 2nd and 8 from the 47-yard line. I mean, at this point, you're really not in field goal range unless you're Nathaniel Hackett's dumbass coaching. Shut it down, boys. We got it here. What do you need? You need one more play. You need about 10 more yards, realistically. Well, they dialed one up. They see it coming out of the huddle. Bo Nix, he wanted Sutton, he said, but Troy Franklin is able to get, he sees like this outside leverage. And it was a great read by Bo, because if he leads Franklin to the sideline, there's no way that ball gets caught. It's either out of bounds or the defender has the edge. So he sees the defender taking this outside, like he's going to take him outside. He's going to run him into the sideline, which leaves hardly any space because the sideline becomes the defender. And Bo recognizes it and throws it. Franklin sees and makes a side adjustment. He throws, it's kind of like a back shoulder throw where they're going, where both the defender and the receiver are going outside, and then the receiver eye contact, peels away, and then leans back in. It's very similar to that kind of back shoulder throw that's been famous in the league now for 15 years. And it wasn't that exactly, but a similar idea. Perfectly spotted. Franklin goes up, catches it. And he had a couple drops earlier, especially if you call the diving catch a drop. That's a tough catch, but it's one, again, in a game like that, you got to make. When you talk about growth of a quarterback and a young receiver, kind of growing up before your eyes, it's plays like that, folks. Nix could have easily thrown it to the sideline. You hope for an interference call. It's just, we talk about it all the time. Hope's not a strategy. Instead, he recognizes what the corner's doing. Franklin sees him. He adjusts. Boom, first down. Now you got the ball 1st and 10 at the 15. You're kneeling, and here comes Wil Lutz to finish it off. That's how you beat the Chiefs. That's how you beat the Chiefs. Play keep away, take care of the ball, and take advantage of some opportunities. They got away with the one, again, the 4-point turnaround with the Harvey throw. But that was the blueprint. I predicted they were going to win, I think, 19-16. They ended up winning 22-19. And I said it's going to be similar, kind of like the Texans game. That kind of game. That kind of game. But the only reason it was possible is, let's give Vance Joseph his flowers, damn it. Can you finally see, folks? If you can't tell how important Vance Joseph is to this defense and this team, I can't help you. If you're still holding a grudge for his time as head coach here, I can't help you. He is so much better prepared to be a head coach. I would think the Cincinnati job would be perfect for him, but he can be picky at this point. But his ability to get these guys to rally, to play for each other, to play fast, to play hard, to play to the whistle, and to make plays in the biggest moments is something. And he deserves credit. When you talk about play callers offensively, he deserves credit the way he's dialing it up, the way he dials it up. And Patrick Mahomes, if you don't think he was, fearful is the wrong word, but cognizant of the Broncos defense, you're crazy. I haven't seen ever Mahomes play a Denver team where he was trying to get the ball out that quickly. It was quick hitters, slants, quick to Kelsey on stick routes, digs. I mean, get the ball out, moving the pocket. He wanted no part of that Broncos pass rush. And they got to him a few times. But when it mattered most, Jaquan McMillan, J-Mac, made the biggest play. I mean, you got Mahomes with the ball with 4 minutes left. We've seen this movie. And it usually ends with Broncos country in tears, right? We've seen it. Give it back to Mahomes and let him have a chance to put you away with 4 minutes, 3 minutes. It doesn't end well. There's a reason he's going to go down as one of the greatest players in NFL history. Well, not this time. Mahomes, it was incomplete, and then sacked by Jaquan McMillan. 3rd and 10 from the 29-yard line. The 26-yard line. Perfectly timed blitz. You watch the replay. Creed Humphrey, the center, and Kareem Hunt, the running back, both went after the same guy. Kareem Hunt was late to the edge, and here comes J-Mac in full speed, just jumps on Mahomes. That was the play of the game defensively, other than his pick near the goal line of Mahomes. I mean, you can't play a much better game than McMillan did. A guy that was supposed to get beaten out in camp by Jahdae Barron. Barron's had some nice moments, but I'll say this about J-Mac. This guy talks shit. He stands up. He's not afraid to get in anybody's face. He reminds me of Chris Harris and kind of the way he plays, and he's got a little more of Talib's personality. I mean, he gives no F's. He's going to let you know about it. This guy, after the game, he's talking in third person. It's like J-Mac knew J-Mac was going to be able to win the job. He can't. I was like, this is our Nickelback, right? This is the Nickelback stepping up and saying this. So that's where personality comes. You see the confidence, right? But that's a Vance Joseph production. It's on Broadway. Directed and produced by Vance Joseph. That they dialed it up. Hunt's late. He and Humphrey, there's some kind of mix-up. I don't know who was wrong. It looked like Hunt based on when I watched the film of how he reacted. And here comes J-Mac. He jumps on Mahomes, and the Chiefs have to punt it back to Denver. Again, this is your moment. That's how you win it. Nick's breaking up that Harvey pass. J-Mac interception at the goal line. This huge interception, and then Sean Payton having the balls to dial up that play to Franklin, or dial up a deeper pass to get them in better field goal range. That's how you knock the champ out. You don't win on the scorecard. You don't hope you go to the judges' scorecards because you're not going to win that. You want to beat the champs, you got to hit them. You got to hit them in the nose. You got to hit them in the chin. You got to score a knockout. You can't win by hoping. And that's why I like the way the Broncos finished. This was about a team that's like, we're not going to stand back and let Mahomes drive down the field and just sit here and, 8 in front. Here's another 7-yard completion, 8-yard completion, and keep everything in front of you. No, we're bringing it. We're dialing up pressure. We're not going to try to kick a 65-yarder at the end of regulation and hope we win in overtime. We're going to go for it now, a deep ball, a deeper pass to Franklin. That's how your team takes on the personality of its coaches. Coaches, plural, Vance Joseph and Sean Payton. That's how you get to 9-2. So let's hear from both John Franklin Myers, defensive end, played a great game, and Wil Lutz, the kicker, because both can add about the culture and what this means in Payton, but also just how this team's able to finish. Because they've heard it. They've heard people saying they're a fraud team. Well, they're not now. They're 9-2. They just beat the Chiefs. Let's hear from John Franklin Myers and Wil Lutz.
Is the confidence level that high?
I think the confidence level has been that high. I think, any opportunity that we have, I think we're going to choose ourselves, and I think you should, naturally. But ultimately, each week is different, and everybody gets paid. We're all doing the same job, so it's about who executes the best. And today we did, but that's a good team we played against, obviously.
How much confidence? What does Sean do in these spots where no Surtain, no Singleton, no JK? Chiefs are in a desperate spot, yet you guys played with the confidence. Was it to shut people up nationally? We don't listen to everybody has an opinion, and rightfully so, they should. That's kind of where we live in nowadays. But, naturally you're going to qualify every win and try to say, this team was this or this team wasn't good or they were missing this guy or that. But, now this is one of those opportunities. We were missing some guys. Guys stepped up, and curious to see what people say now.
I think we knew before that game last year that we had the right guys. It was never a question if we had the right guys in the locker room. That was just kind of, all right, how are we going to respond? And, you look at the last year and a half since that game, this team has come together. We've found ways to win close games, which is kind of what coach has been harping on all year. And it's a lot of fun to do with the guys you love when you have a locker room like this.
You've told me about the culture, and guys were handpicked for this. You played with Sean. What is it though about him in these spots? Underdog, no Dobbins, no Surtain, no Singleton. Chiefs playing, a more desperate spot. What is it about the way you guys respond to him in this spot?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I can't really pinpoint that. Every team is going through injuries in this league. We're more than halfway through the season. Every team deals with it, and we've been really good over the last few years with our training room to not have to deal with it very much. But we are in a place where we've lost a few valuable guys, but this whole locker room is valuable. We got depth on our roster. We got no linemen blocking PATs. We got the right guys. It's a next man up mentality, and no one really approaches this game as woe is me in this building, and that starts at the top.
Okay.
He puts confidence in everybody, not just the starting 11 in each unit. And that's a testament to him. That's a testament to the people above him as well. So it's been fun to be a part of.
Welcome back, folks. Hope that gives you a taste of where the Broncos are now. I will say this, the one thing that you like if you're in Broncos country, walking out of that locker room last night, you can say nobody's satisfied. Again, their goal isn't just to win the West. They have much bigger goals. Sean Payton put it out there in the summer. He believes this team is one of the 9 he's coached. I think maybe 6. I may have the number wrong. In his 20 years basically now as a head coach, that could be a Super Bowl team. He put it out there. And this team, those are their goals. They got to win the West first. They haven't won it. And that's what I like talking to guys. It's like, we got to keep chopping. We got to keep our head down. We got to keep doing what we're doing. Nobody's won anything, but let's not kid ourselves. That was a huge win, the biggest by the Broncos in a decade. They're now in position to win the West, 3.5 up over the Chiefs, 2 over the Chargers. They control their destiny, so enjoy it. And as much as I hate to say it, maybe root for the Colts against the Chiefs this coming weekend. Broncos country, I could not do this pod if it weren't for my A1 from day one, Darby Hoggatt Injury Law. Give him a call. Ted Shih and his Ted Shih family law practice. And, of course, Nate Lundy and Danny Bailey of Mile High Sports. Danny's the one that does all the great graphics and makes this possible. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness, that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.